Yeah, because I think back then it was a lot different, right? The UFC wasn't on TV like in the '90s, like it was, unless you watch those early UFCs, but it was very different, right, than it is now. Like now, like the UFC is a mainstream sport. Everybody watches it every day. It's on everything, right, on TV. So people know what jiu-jitsu is.
Yeah.
And kids now too, like parents put their kids in jiu-jitsu now compared to what it was back then. Were there kids classes?
No. Back then it was so different. Like
It was like Fight Club, right?
Yeah, I remember we'd have Friday nights was Fight Club night. We'd have to bring the gloves and we train like jiu-jitsu with trying to hit each other, in a guard. And
it's still the time of you were like jiu-jitsu versus other martial arts, right? Still in that time.
I remember training pisao.
The foot kick, the foot stomp, to close the distance, like the old school Hoist Gracie, right?
Yeah, and still like we train all the, like I think a lot of people are look down upon it now, but I appreciate learning the old school self-defense, because like I spent all this time learning jiu-jitsu, might as well say like I've learned the traditional stuff as well. I think there's some value to it.
Yeah, for sure. Like they call it the like self-defense aspect, right? People like forget about that. Hey, this is like a martial art. We love the sport and all that, but like, hey, you should know how to fight too, right?
Yeah, I remember recently I trained the mount escape, and it was it was a new way, and I was like, oh, this is a very efficient way to escape the mount. And then I was like, why didn't Jerson teach me that? And I realized it's like, because they were concerned about getting punched in the face, So there's a lot of
different intentions, right? Different ways.
Yeah, there's like the old school way was very much about fighting, and
even the IBJJF, right? They don't want it to be an Olympic sport. They want it to keep the essence of it, and it's like self-defense, or you can fight like with things they give points and things like that would be advantageous in a fight, so they're keeping the essence, the martial art essence of it alive, right? Because if it turns into like Olympic sports, like it changes, right? Like kind of like with judo and whatever different things like that go into the Olympic kind of arena, right?
Yeah.
Like the Sheik, the Abu Dhabi Federation, they want to make it an Olympic sport. Other federations want to make it an Olympic sport, but the IBJJF does not. That's not part of their mission.
I feel like people should be free to create whatever organizations they want. Like
express themselves in different ways. Like, have you seen the combat jiu-jitsu?
Oh yeah,
the Chad George
people getting
slapped in the face.
Yeah, I feel like
that was part of the old school. That was the old school kind of training sometimes, right?
Yeah, I remember Chingia would come over Friday nights and he'd be put on the boxing gloves and we'd have to train to take him down.
Yeah. And
I feel like the more opportunities there are for people to compete, like it could only be better. You know? Because there's it's great to try different things to see what really catches on. You know?
Yeah, I remember I was training for fights in the early days, and I went down to Brazil a couple of times, and I remember like Jacqueline was doing like these old school, having me do old school like closing the distance, right? One guy with boxing gloves, and I wouldn't have boxing gloves. I would just have to avoid the punches and close the distance, And there's this guy named He-Man, so he was a big, strong guy, and he could throw the punches, and I could only take him down, right? And of course, I'm going to take damage, like, because the guy's like also a really good jiu-jitsu guy, right? So his sprawl game, all that stuff is going to be on, But it was part of the training, right?
Yeah,
and it made you better because of it, and the big picture.
Yeah,
and I'm proud of all the experiences and all the things we went through.
And Draculino, like him, Jerson, and Henzo, they all had that charisma, where like they can like inspire people to take on any challenges.
It was a different scene, right? It was a different scene now.